Welcome, lovely viewers, to another exciting video. Hello, fellow enthusiasts. Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of Mansions of Madness. Mansions of Madness is a tabletop strategy game designed by Corey Konieczka and published by Fantasy Flight Games in 2011. Players explore a locale filled with Lovecraftian horrors and solve a mystery. After 5 years, 2 big box expansions, and 6 print-on-demand scenarios, the original Mansions of Madness was retired and replaced by Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition. The 2nd edition was designed by Nikki Valens and uses an app in place of the human keeper role to run the game's scenario. Let's zoom in on 1st edition and understand its implications. Mansions of Madness requires 2 to 5 players. One player takes the role of the keeper, who is responsible for the monsters and happenings of the game. The other players take on the roles of investigators, who solve a mystery. At the beginning of the game, the players pick a storyline and set up the map accordingly. The keeper consults the rule book to make decisions about the story and to place clues and traps across the board. After setting up, the players begin at the designated starting point, and if there is a main character, that player with the main character role goes first. If not, the youngest player goes first. Then the other explorers take turns exploring. Each investigator may move to spaces and carry out one action. Each investigator has a health and sanity value that is depleted when the character is wounded or scared. Each time an investigator suffers damage, the keeper may play trauma cards that inflict further penalties. For instance, an investigator might receive damage of a broken leg and be unable to move as quickly as before. Or the investigator could develop nyctophobia after having an encounter with an eldritch horror. During the investigator's turn, the keeper may play mythos cards to attempt to injure the character physically or mentally, degrade or destroy their items, or otherwise set them back. After the investigators complete their turns, the keeper gets to react. The keeper accumulates threat points equivalent to the number of investigators each turn. Threat points are a resource required to use most of the keeper's ability cards. The keeper knows the objective from the beginning, while the goal is hidden from the investigators until near the end of the game. With the groundwork laid, let's now examine expansions and its connections to our previous discussions. 2 expansions were published for the 1st edition of Mansions of Madness. In this section, we'll be deep diving into Forbidden Alchemy, unraveling its complexities and uncovering valuable insights. Forbidden Alchemy was designed by Corey Konieczka, the designer of the base game, and released in 2011. It included the 3 new scenarios: Return of the Reanimator, Yellow Matter, and Lost in Time and Space. The expansion also contained 4 new investigators: Carolyn Fern, Dexter Drake, Daryl Simmons, and Vincent Lee, 4 new monsters, 2 Biekis and 2 Crawling Ones, and 6 new map tiles, as well as additional cards and tokens. A revised printing in May 2012 included corrected cards and map setups for all 3 scenarios. In this section, we'll be exploring Call of the Wild. Call of the Wild was designed by Corey Konieczka and released in 2013. It included the 5 new scenarios: A Cry for Help, The Stars Aligned, The Mind's Veil, The Dunwich Horror, and A Matter of Trust. This expansion aimed to shift the game's focus to outdoor settings that were designed to be less linear to give players more choice in exploration and investigation. The expansion also introduced allies and non-player characters to the game and added situations where the keeper had to find clues to solve puzzles. The expansion added 4 new investigators: Amanda Sharp, Bob Jenkins, Mandy Thompson, and Monterey Jack, 11 new monsters: 2 Dark Druids, 2 Child of the Goats, 2 Goat Spawns, 2 Nigants, Dunwich Horror, Dark Young, and Wizard, and 11 new map tiles, as well as additional cards and tokens. Get ready for an exciting part as we dive into scenarios. Fantasy Flight Games released 6 print-on-demand scenarios separately. 1. Season of the Witch 2011 2. The Silver Tablet 2011 3. Till Death Do Us Part 2011 4. House of Fears 2012-5, The Yellow Sign 2012-6, The Laboratory 2013. Let's now turn our gaze towards 2nd edition and explore the fascinating connections it has to offer. On for August 2016, a 2nd edition of Mansions of Madness was released. Aside from some minor modifications, gameplay was fundamentally the same as in the 1st edition, but with the role of the Keeper replaced by a companion app that would run through Steam on Mac or PC, Apple iOS, or Android platforms. The app expanded the gameplay in several ways, including the randomization of maps and monsters and incorporating an extended range of interactive puzzles into the app. The app allows the game to be played solo. The 2nd edition came with a conversion kit that allowed players who owned the 1st edition base game and either of its big box expansions Forbidden Alchemy and Call of the Wild to incorporate their investigator figures, monster figures, and map tiles into the 2nd edition game to add more variety and unlock extra scenarios. Shortly after the 2nd edition base game was released, the 2 figure and tile collections Recurring Nightmares and Suppressed Memories were released to make all the 1st edition components available to those who did not own the 1st edition game or expansions. The base game came with 4 scenarios of varying length and difficulty and 3 scenarios that could be unlocked by paying for the downloadable content DLC. Players who owned either the 1st edition base game or added the Recurring Nightmares figure and tile collection could play an additional scenario. Players who owned the 1st edition Call of the Wild expansion or added the Suppressed Memories figure and tile collection could play an additional scenario. In this chapter, we'll be shedding light on figure and tile collections and its role in shaping our understanding. Mansions of Madness 2nd edition shipped with a conversion kit that allowed those with the 1st edition game and either of its 2 expansions to use their investigators, monsters, and tiles while playing 2nd edition scenarios. It wasn't necessary, but it did add more variety to the randomly generated game maps and monsters and gave players more choice of investigators to play. However, since production of the 1st edition game and expansions had ceased, Fantasy Flight Games decided to package the old game components into 2 new figure and tile collections and release them simultaneously. These weren't considered a true expansion but rather a repackaging of the old, out-of-production 1st edition components that allowed new players to add them to their 2nd edition game. Now, let's shift our perspective and explore Recurring Nightmares from a different angle. The Recurring Nightmares figure and tile collection contained game components from the 1st edition base Gameite investigators Jenny Barnes, Joe Diamond, Gloria Goldberg, Sister Mary, Michael McGowan, Ashton Pete, Harvey Walters and Kate Winthrop, 18 monsters for zombies, 2 Ktonians, 2 cult leaders, 2 hounds of Tinderlows, 2 maniacs, 2 Migo, 2 witches and 2 shoggoths and 15 double-sided map tiles. The 1st edition base game actually had 24 monster figures, but the 2nd edition base game already had the 6 cultists, so these weren't included in this collection. This collection unlocked the dearly departed scenario for play. In this section, we'll be exploring Suppressed Memories. The Suppressed Memories figure and tile collection contained game components from the Forbidden Alchemy and Call of the Wild expansion site investigators Monterey Jack, Bob Jenkins, Amanda Sharp, Mandy Thompson, Dexter Drake, Carolyn Fern, Vincent Lee and Daryl Simmons, 15 monsters, 2 children of the goat, 2 dark druids, 2 goat spawns, 2 Nigant, 2 crawling ones, 2 Biaki, 1 wizard, 1 Dunmick horror and 1 dark young, and 17 double-sided map tiles. This collection unlocked the Cult of Sentinel Hill scenario for play. Let's now turn our gaze towards Beyond the Threshold and explore the fascinating connections it has to offer. The Beyond the Threshold expansion was released in January 2017 and included 2 new investigators Akachi Anil and Wilson Richards, 1 new monster for thralls and 6 new double-sided map tiles, as well as additional tokens and cards that expanded the base decks. The expansion introduced key tokens and moving map tiles. The expansion unlocked 2 new scenarios, Gatus of Silverwood Manor and Vengeful Impulses. As we enter this new phase, let's uncover the impact of Streets of Arkham on our broader topic. The Streets of Arkham expansion was released in the fourth quarter of 2017 and included 4 new investigators: Finn Edwards, Diana Stanley, Tommy Muldoon and Marie Lambeau, 4 new monsters, 2 star vampires, 2 skeletons, 2 hired guns and 1 lawyer, and 17 new double-sided map tiles, as well as additional tokens and cards that expand the base decks. The expansion introduced elixir cards and improvement tokens for improving skills and a new Tower of Hanoi-style puzzle type. The expansion unlocked the 3 new scenarios: Astral Alchemy, Gangs of Arkham and Ill-Fated Exhibit. In this section, we'll be deep diving into Sanctum of Twilight, unraveling its complexities and uncovering valuable insights. The Sanctum of Twilight expansion was released in the first quarter of 2018 and included 2 new investigators, Lily Chen and Charlie Kane, 1 new monster, 2 wraiths, and 5 new double-sided map tiles, as well as additional tokens and cards that expand the base decks. The expansion introduced restraint tokens and overlapping map tiles. The expansion unlocked the 2 new scenarios, Twilight Diadem and Behind Closed Doors. Prepare yourself for an in-depth analysis of Horrific Journeys in this section. The Horrific Journeys expansion was released in the fourth quarter of 2018 and included 4 new investigators: Agnes Baker, Jim Culver, Silas Marsh and Trish Scarborough, 4 new monsters, 2 warlocks, 2 dimensional shamblers, 2 hunting deep ones and 1 formless spawn, and 18 new double-sided map tiles, as well as additional tokens and cards that expand the base decks. The expansion introduced agenda cards and Waiterrift tokens. The expansion unlocked the 3 new scenarios: Murder on the Stargazer Majestic, 1050 to Arkham and Hidden Depths, taking place on an airship, a train and a cruise ship. With the groundwork laid, let's now examine Path of the Serpent and its connections to our previous discussions. The Path of the Serpent expansion was released in the fourth quarter of 2019 and included 4 new investigators: Daniela Reyes, Leo Anderson, Norman Withers and Ursula Downs, 4 new monsters: 2 feathered serpents, 2 temple guardians, 3 serpent persons and 1 ancient basilisk, and 17 new double-sided map tiles, as well as additional tokens and cards that expand the base decks. The expansion unlocked the 3 new scenarios: The Jungle Awakens, Into the Dark and Lost Temple of Yig. In the upcoming portion, we'll be dissecting scenarios to gain a comprehensive understanding of its implications. Scenario difficulty: duration minutes, physical requirements, Cycle of Eternity, base game, Escape from Innsmouth, base game, Shattered Bonds, base game, Rising Tide, base game, Dearly Departed Mansions of Madness 1st edition or Recurring Nightmares figure and tile collection, Cult of Sentinel Hill, Call of the Wild expansion or Suppressed Memories figure and tile collection, What Lies Within, base game plus DLC paid, Gates of Silverwood Manor, Beyond the Threshold expansion, Vengeful Impulses, Beyond the Threshold expansion, Dark Reflections, base game plus DLC paid, Astral Alchemy, Streets of Arkham expansion, Gangs of Arkham, Streets of Arkham expansion, Ill-Fated Exhibit, Streets of Arkham expansion, The Twilight Diadem, Sanctum of Twilight expansion, Behind Closed Doors, Sanctum of Twilight expansion, Altered Fates, base game plus DLC paid, Murder on the Stargazer Majestic, Horrific Journeys expansion, 1050 to Arkham, Horrific Journeys expansion, Hidden Depths, Horrific Journeys expansion, The Jungle Awakens 90-120, Path of the Serpent expansion, Into the Dark 150-180, Path of the Serpent expansion, Lost Temple of Yid 90-120, Path of the Serpent expansion, Turn of a Page 120-180, base game plus DLC paid. With the groundwork laid, let's now examine reception and its connections to our previous discussions. Both the first and second editions of Mansions of Madness received favorable reviews at Eurogamer, Penny Arcade, Board Games Land, Islavidragon and the Dice Star podcast. The first edition of the game has been criticized for its complexity and the amount of time it takes to set up and play. These criticisms were largely resolved with the release of the second version. The game has been praised for its replay value, its Lovecraftian theme, and its uniqueness. Watch It Played, a YouTube series, started out as a resource for Mansions of Madness. Brace yourself for an enlightening exploration of awards and nominations as we dive into its profound implications. Mansions of Madness First and Second editions have received numerous awards and nominations. Golden Geek Best Thematic Board Game Winner 2011, Golden Geek Best Board Game Author Presentation Nominee 2011, The Dice Tower, Best Production Values 2011, The Dice Tower, Best Game Artwork 2012, As Door Doodles and Nominee 2016, The Dice Tower, Best Cooperative Game 2016, Golden Geek Board Game of the Year nominee. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss an update from my channel.